of depths unknown, the spark of life ignites, and we are born. We enter a world, a universe, not of our making. Our lives unfold in mystery and wonder. Questions abound, for which there are no definite answers. And so, we gather in community to seek in one another assurance and recognition, compassion and strength. We gather in community to be reminded of what is most ultimate and what is most sacred. In this spirit of searching and of reverence, let us worship together this morning.
Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of the evening, heart is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again, come. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of the evening, heart is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again, come. Come, come, whoever you are. Come, come, whoever you are. Wanderer, worshiper, lover of the evening, heart is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again, come. Come, come, whoever you are. Wanderer, worshiper, lover of the evening, heart is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again, come. Come, yet again, come. Come, come, yet again, come. Come, yet again, come. Come, yet again, come. Come, yet again, come.
Tom Taylor has said that one of his favorite Unitarian Universalist rituals is the lighting of our chalice. To him, it symbolizes a beacon of hope and love. As we light our chalice today, let us look to that beacon and take in that hope and love so that we may then share it with others. Today, we have asked Heather to come light the chalice for us. So please join us in saying the chalice lighting words which are printed in your order of service. We light this chalice for the
warmth of love, for the light of truth, and for the energy of action.
Talking about starlight reminds me of Neil deGrasse Tyson's one-liner about a photon checking in at the airline counter, and the person behind the desk said, "Do you have any luggage?" To which the photon replied, "No, I'm traveling light." So I have this friend, Billy Bob, who heard that there was a guru living in a cave on a mountainside in India. This guru understood the meaning of life. So Billy Bob drove to Salt Lake, got on a plane, flew to India, rented a Jeep, drove to the edge of the mountains, hopped up on a donkey, went to the cave, walked into the cave and said, "How you doing, guru? But I've heard that you know the meaning of life." To which the guru said, "Yes, it is mushrooms." Billy Bob says, "That's a little bit strange, but now I know." So he retraced his steps, came back to Ogden, told his friends that the meaning of life is mushrooms. Everyone laughed at him and said, "You must be crazy. The meaning of life is not mushrooms." So somewhat perplexed, Billy Bob retraced his steps, flew to India, got on a jeep, got on a donkey, went into the cave again. How you doing, Guru? My friends laughed at me when I told them the meaning of life was mushrooms. You must be mistaken. The Guru said, well then, it must be turnips. That still tickles me. I gave this sermon over 13 years ago when I was a whippersnapper in my late 60s. I have updated it for today's talk with the wisdom that supposedly comes with advancing years. In our search for the meaning of life, let's start with the usual suspects: religion, philosophy, and science. I have no training in religion or philosophy. I am not a scientist. So with that impeccable set of credentials, here we go. Let's tackle religion first. The three major monotheistic religions, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, all derive their teachings from Scripture, the Bible, the Torah, and the Quran. Each religion feels that God revealed himself to prophets who wrote down those revelations. In most cases, the revelations were passed down as oral histories before they were documented. There are several organized religions under each major religion with varying interpretations of their scriptures. Some emphasize the loving God, some emphasize the God of wrath found in their writings. A common thread among most organized religions, however, is that its adherents subscribe to its particular set of beliefs. Each religion says that its God requires that its members follow its dictates. If you ask a member of a particular religion about the meaning of life, the answer would probably be to follow the teachings of his or her religion. And to make matters more complicated, if you ask 100 UUs about the meaning of life and its relationship to religion, you would get up to 100 different answers. So this presents a problem in finding the meaning of life from religion. Either a relatively few folks have it right and everyone else is wrong, or almost certainly no one religion has the truth. I could go on a fishing expedition and get a lot of answers, but I don't think I would get the answer. As religion hasn't yielded the one answer to the meaning of life, let's turn to philosophy. I got interested in philosophy years ago after reading The Story of Philosophy by Will Durant. I did a fair amount of reading and especially enjoyed David Hume and Bertrand Russell, which of course just validates my confirmation bias. But philosophy has the same problem as religion in searching for the meaning of life. Among the various schools of thought, there are the existentialists, the Buddhists, the Mohists, the Cynics, the Nihilists, the Humanists, and many more. All of these branches have various writings that aren't necessarily in harmony. I don't have the qualifications, if anyone does, to sort through all of those subjective schools of thought and have a eureka moment as I discover the meaning of life. Philosophy is interesting, but I don't think it yields the clear answer to what is the meaning of life. What is needed is a totally objective investigation into the question of the meaning of life. But all is not lost. Science can maybe shine some rational light on the meaning of life question. After all, science is in the business of seeking truth. To aid in my inquiry, I would like to conduct a thought experiment, but a little background is necessary. About 15 or so years ago, Roxy and I babysat our 3 grandchildren in Louisiana. On our first night with the kids, after we all went to bed, our then 6-year-old grandson Ian came in and got in bed with us. I took him back to his bedroom and I thought I had him asleep again. The next morning we found Ian in bed with one of his brothers. I asked Ian what he was doing the previous night. He said he was zooming around the house. So Roxanne and I found that notion of zooming around the house to be very endearing. So to see what science has to say about the meaning of life, I'm going to bestow the now adult Ian with the ability to zoom anywhere in the universe instantly. And I'm giving him great powers of reason. The limitation of the speed of light on travel does not apply to Ian. Normally you would have to spend nearly 14 billion years traveling at the speed of light to take a look at the far reaches of our universe. As a side note, that means that photons entering the Hubble Space Telescope from some of the earliest formed galaxies have been wending their way towards the planet Earth for nearly 14 billion years. That just sort of blows my mind. In my experiment, however, Ian can zoom around the Earth and among planets and stars and galaxies instantaneously. And then he, with his great powers of reason, he will assess what he finds. Ian starts his journey of inquiry, and after a short while, he returns. I am surprised by what he has found. First off, he says he wishes to be a little tricky, and he will not tell me if he found intelligent life on other planets in orbit around the over 100 billion years in our Milky Way galaxy. He also was mum about intelligent life in any of the other 200 to 300 billion galaxies in the universe. He did say, however, that stars everywhere are like those here in our Milky Way. Many of the stars have planets. I remember Carl Sagan admitted that if our ordinary planet, in our ordinary solar system, in our ordinary Milky Way, has the only intelligent life in the universe, there is an awful lot of wasted space. So I asked Ian, what about the meaning of life here and now on Earth? That Ian, he won't answer my question directly. He says that I will have to come to my own conclusion about the meaning of life on Earth. He says science only seeks to understand how the universe works, not why it got to be that way. He says that observing the entire universe gave him no insight as to why it came into being. But wait, there's more. His enormous capacity for rational thought and his powers of observation did lead him to give me some good news and some bad news. The bad news is that as far as as nature and the universe are concerned, there is no meaning to life. The universe just is. It operates according to the laws of physics. And the universe is made of matter, energy, and the interplay between the two. Man's attempt to define himself as important and essential is self-delusional. The universe could care less. In fact, the universe is incapable of caring. To rub it in, it reminds me that the laws of physics have no moral value. A tree, for example, is just a tree. But children find the tree a wonderful thing to climb. Artists find beauty in the tree. Hikers find the tree gives valuable shade. The tree may be used to make paper. In our early history, however, lynch mobs used trees for hangings. The tree, like the universe, just is. It's a living thing that may reproduce before it eventually dies, and that's it. I asked Ian, but isn't there something special about this wonderful and beautiful planet? Ian smiles and says, yes, Grandpa, you've landed on some good news. The early conditions of our planet were just right for life to form and evolve. But our sun will reach a violent death about 5 billion years from now, and the Earth and its inhabitants, if any exist then, will all be toast. And there's nothing really special about that. This line of reasoning from Ian is beginning to bother me. I make the point that the Earth may not be extra special, but what about us? Aren't we humans, as the expression goes, made in the image of God? Ian says he doesn't want to deflate my bubble, but the evolution of humans on Earth was probably a quirk of nature. This is the same conclusion made by Stephen Jay Gould, the late evolutionary biologist, who believed that many random and fortuitous events led to the emergence of humans on Earth. He thought that if we were to go back in time to nearly 5 billion years ago, as the sun and the planets were formed, formation of our solar system, and then start fresh and go forward again, it is highly unlikely that animals just like us would again evolve on Earth. Well, so far, not so good. From this perspective, science says there is no meaning to life. Life is just one of those things that may happen according to the laws of nature, given the correct conditions. Isn't there any good news? Yes. Thankfully, Ian has two pieces of really good news for us. First is the fact that we are here. Think about it. That is good news. We are here. He said that his observation of humans led him to believe that we don't appreciate the extreme good fortune we all share to be living, breathing Homo sapiens. I know that I'm thankful. I'm certainly glad the human race came into being through a long and tortuous set of random events, and that my thousands of ancestors did things just right so that I could be born. The second set of good news is that we humans can choose how to live our lives. We have the capacity to both love and hate. We can help others or we can be selfish. We can either embrace or resent diversity. And most importantly, we can enjoy a good India Pale Ale or we can drink Bud Light. In short, we are in charge of our lives. We are human and we won't always make the right choices, but we can strive to make the correct ones. As I thought about our good fortune of being here with a large number of life choices before us, my depression about the bad news for me it dissolves. We don't need to feel we occupy a special place in the universe. We can be thankful we exist and have the ability to appreciate the wonder and mystery of the universe. I decided that the fact that life seems to have no special meaning in life, in nature, doesn't bother me. What is important is the meaning we give to our lives. We can live a full and meaningful life here and now. In my view, here and now trumps most religions' promise of an elusive afterlife in exchange for an adherence to an arbitrary creed. My favorite guidelines for life are from the late UU minister of the Reverend Forest Church. He wrote the book Freedom from Fear after he was diagnosed with terminal cancer, in this book he urged his readers, be yourself, do what you can, love what you have. Be yourself, do what you can, love what you have. But regardless of your guiding principles, how you live is a result of the intentional choices you make in life. And so after my scientific experiment with Ian and my analysis of religion and philosophy, the answer to the meaning of life can be found, I think, if we look within ourselves. Now this following is a slightly edited paragraph from the book, The Big Picture, by the astrophysicist Sean Carroll. The universe is not a miracle. It simply is, unguided and unsustained, manifesting the patterns of nature with scrupulous regularity. Over billions of years it has evolved from a state of low entropy toward increasing complexity, and it will eventually wind back down to a featureless equilibrium. We are the miracle, we human beings. Not a break the laws of physics kind of miracle, but a miracle in that it is wondrous and amazing how such complex, aware, creative, caring creatures could have arisen in perfect accordance with those laws of physics. Our lives are finite, unpredictable, and immeasurably precious. Our emergence has brought meaning and mattering into the world. This bequeaths to us the responsibility and the opportunity to make life into what we would have it be. I agree with Dr. Carroll. The meaning of life means living a life of meaning. Blessed be.
gift of all the riches on this earth. Life and its creatures, great and small, of high and lowly birth. So treasure it and measure it with deeds of shining worth. Mind is the brightest gift of all, its thought no barrier mars. It seeks creation's hidden plan, its quest surmounts all bars. It rains the wind, it chains the storm, it weighs the outmost stars. We are of life, its shining gift, the measure of all things. Up from the dust our temples lift, our vision soars on wings. For seed and root, for flower and